How does one balance the desire of sleep, and how does one break it in?
I mean, sleep is very important. People that are sleep deprivation is a torture. It's a form of torture. And people will go into psychotic states after maybe 5 or 6 days without sleep. They'll go into a psychotic state. And the reason for that is that sleep, Ibn Arabi says sleep is to the soul what food is to the body. And we know now that sleep is not, your metabolism is basically working at the same level when you're asleep as it is when you're sitting or lying down awake. So what is sleep? Sleep is the soul's need to leave the dunya for a period of time, because we're aliens here. This is not our natural abode. So the waking state is like being fish out of water. So we do our work, we're like amphibians. Like we're here, but we have to go back into the water. And that water is the consciousness that happens in sleep. And that's why you feel so refreshed after sleep. Your soul is refreshed. It's not your body. It's the soul. So sleep is really important. And people need different levels of sleep. Even in life, I mean, one of the things as you get older, people think old people, can't sleep. Because they're not supposed to be, they're supposed to be doing ibadah. The older you get, the more ibadah you should be doing. It's just natural. And that's why in the Muslim world, old people know what to do with insomnia. They do tahajjud and they read Quran and they do things that are appropriate for their age. Because you dry out. Babies sleep a lot. They're like cats. Because cats are, they say that's one of the things about cats. They're more spiritual than dogs. They have to sleep all the time. So babies are very wet and moist. And as you dry out through life, you're going to need less sleep as you get older. But people, Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya told me, be careful, I'm not sleeping. Because he said he actually harmed his health when he was young because he didn't sleep a lot. He just had such high himmah. And children hate to go to sleep because their consciousness is, they're new here. So it's like, I'm going to miss something, right? They want to stay awake. They fight sleep. When we get older, it's the opposite. We're like, I got to get out of here. I need a nap. I would be careful. But during Ramadan, we should be sleeping less. Yeah. And Sayyidina Ali's dua was, وَرَضِّينِي بِيَسِيرٍ مِّنَ النَّوْمِ اللهم هل علينا بلا أسقام والفراغ من الأعمال. Like, enable us to pray Ramadan free of illness and free of preoccupations and content us with less sleep. So Ramadan is a good time, but don't overdo it to where you're going to get sick. I mean, you have to sleep. So sleep is very important.
So today, with regards to...
Demons don't nap either. The Prophet ﷺ said, قِيلُوا فِإِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ لَا يَقِيلُونَ. Take naps because the demons don't nap. Sorry, go ahead.
Today, with regards to psychiatry, people create labels for all behavioral patterns. Should we be using these patterns?
Yeah, I mean, psychiatry is, we have a whole tradition of the study of the psyche, right? Psyche is soul. And so psychology is the study of the human soul, traditionally. And this really, for us, this is very deep psychology. I mean, he's giving us psychology. In terms of illnesses, we're living in an age of a lot of mental imbalance, but we're also living in a kind of psychological, psychiatric period where everything's labeled. So everything, he's got narcissistic personality disorder. Everybody's got, they all have all these labels. And I think we have to be careful about being too quick to relegate people to mental illness. In Islam, it's very hard to prove mental illness in criminal cases. Because if people act rationally in any way, then they're seen as having basic sanity. I mean, if somebody plans shooting up a school, you can say it's mental illness, but they plan to do something very heinous, so they're just a human demon. And why there are human demons, God only knows. I mean, it's just not for us to penetrate that mystery. But there are human demons. And they're out there. And there's people, they're under like a demonic possession. It's pretty clear. I mean, just look at them. They scream and yell, and it's amazing. You know, triggered, like they can't, people, we should be able just to have a conversation about something. But there's people that can't. They can't sit. And then they're very troubled by people of piety and people of spirit. They're very troubled by them. So they react when they see any forms of piety, which is a proof that they're under demonic yatawallawnahu. I mean, Allah says that they have taken Iblis as their ally. So we live amongst them, and you know, that's part of what he's saying is, look, you have it in your own self. And you have to learn to live with it in your own self, let alone in the world that we're in. Right?
The heart should be in control, but the truth is reached by the intellect. How can you ensure that the intellect is still under control of the heart and you are not depending on it in a harmful way?
I mean, again, you just have to, the most important things is to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And, you know, the Christians have that nice thing, what would Jesus do? You know, I mean, we have to think about the Prophet ﷺ and then do our best just to be guided by those principles of Sunnah. So I think you can overthink these things. It's also good to get reflection from people that you trust, that have insight into you, who know you well. Because, you know, suhbah is important. And traditionally, I mean, that was the whole point of the fuqara and having the idea of the zawiyah. I mean, they were doing work on themselves. That was the purpose of that whole operation. A lot of it fell into a lot of dysfunctionality, like everything in the Muslim world. You know, the whole enterprise has fallen on hard times, so they're not the only ones. But that was the purpose of that third space. So, but you can also, I mean, it's very important to preoccupy the self in good things. Because if you're deliberating too much about things, and what they call navel gazing, Kierkegaard called it navel gazing. You know, it's a dangerous thing to do.
One of the purposes of the human being's creation is imara. What exactly
is what?
Imara, I think.
Oh, imarat al-ard, yeah.
What exactly is meant by it?
A lot of things. I mean, imara is the idea of cultivation. You know, Ibn Khaldun's, one of his major points in his book is this idea of umran, you know, of civilization, that we are civilizing creatures. We take wild nature and we create gardens. We take, you know, all of these vegetables and all the foods and everything, and we create cuisines. I mean, this is all cultivation. This is what humans do. And it's our fitrah to do that. We're artists in that way. So we have liberal arts, we have fine arts, and then we have useful arts. So the liberal arts are how we cultivate our intellects, and that enable us to study the higher truths. And then the fine arts are arts that are done for just the sheer joy of, you know, like embellishing things, embroidery, all these things that are done. You know, fine there means from fine. I mean, it's really the final arts, because they're an end unto themselves. They're not done they're done for just the sheer beauty of it. Right? So like literature, all those things that humans do, poetry, it's all cultivation. And then you have the useful arts that are really important, the crafts and so we're losing a lot of some of the most important crafts. because a lot of people can't do things anymore. And the robots aren't going to do it. At least not for a long time, if they ever do. But plumbers, like I met this plumber, because now you can't get a plumber in California. It'll take you like 2-3 weeks to get a plumber. So I met this plumber in an elevator. And pray tell, what do you do? Like he had plumbing outfit and everything. He said, I'm a plumber. I said, why is it so hard to get plumbers? He said, nobody wants to do it anymore. So this guy gets $250 for just showing up. He doesn't have to like turn a wrench. He just shows up and he gets $250. And he did it when he was 18. And traditionally, that's what people, vocational training did. Plumbers are very useful. Sarrab is very useful. Carpenters, there's no master carpenter anymore. They used to have what they call journeyman carpenter. So these are people that would, the jour was from French from the day. So they were day carpenters. So they apprenticed for 7 years with a master carpenter before they became master carpenters. And they're very rare, and they make a fortune, these people. Because really wealthy people want these master carpenters. They don't want these hackers. Zzz, zzz, zzz. They don't want those guys. They want the people that do the fine art. So it's really hard to find good carpenters. Bookbinders. I mean, there's a guy here, I swear to God, I used to bind books with this guy in Sonoma, one of the saddest days of my life when he told me I'm retiring, because half my library was bound by him. And he did a beautiful job, hand stitching, you know, and I did it slowly over years because I couldn't afford to do it all at once. But he retired, and I asked him, did you train anybody? He said, no. But these are beautiful crafts. I mean, Dr. Cindy makes those beautiful bags. I mean, she could make a living off doing that if she wanted. Because people will always purchase things that are of good quality. And everything's so poorly done now, but it's just the time we're living in. It's just a time where there's no refinement. So Imara is really about that. It's about cultivation. Cultivating the arts, cultivating yourself, cultivating the garden. You're just growing food. It's amazing to grow food. I mean, if you grow food and then you pick your own food, it's amazing. The best salad you'll ever have is the one you cut off right off from the garden. You know, if you have a salad garden, you just go and take pieces of and it's very different from the lettuce you buy in the grocery store. It's like fresh meat. Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya was in Mauritania, and the best meat you'll ever have is in Mauritania. Like if you go to Tuamarat, the meat's incredible because they kill the animal and it's still warm, and they bring it and then they cook it. Whereas the meat here, it's all frozen. It goes. So these are all things that are being lost in people. These crafts, they're really important. Useful arts are very important. Then the bow arts are. You know, they embellish life. I mean, one of the things that struck me when I was in Mauritania, they had these big pens, and the women would make these leather cases for them that had these beautiful African designs on them. And I asked one of the women why they did that, and she said because the pen's so ugly. And that's a sign of a fitra people, that they're still healthy. Because one of the hallmarks of modern society is how ugly it is. Like the clothes are ugly, the food is never presented nicely. Like fast food, it's in these horrible containers. We've lost that sense of humanity, just of what makes us human. And this is not just for rich people. I mean, in Morocco, if you go to the poor, like I went to some of the poorest places, or in Mauritania, and they present everything. If you see the way they present salads in Mauritania, I mean, it's a work of art. You've never seen a salad like a Mauritanian salad. I guarantee you. It's a work of art. What is that in them that makes them do that? That artistry. That's ihsan coming out. It's just ihsan. Inna Allah kataba al-ihsana ala kulli shay. So there's ihsan in dress. There's this ihsan in eating. Every single thing that you do, there's ihsan. And so you have to find it and then practice it. Those are the inna Allah ma'al muhsinin. Allah is with the practicers of ihsan. But you have to find it, you know. And that's partly what we're trying to do here, is make something with ihsan.